Good morning. It is another live Tuesday, and we are here greeted this morning with Pam and Jess. Thank you so much for coming in live. This is a live opportunity to come in every Tuesday with us and unprocess our lives together. This is really just me facilitating very smally. It's smally.
Very smallly. Yeah.
Doing is understanding that we're just here together to grow together. And one of my pillars is about focus. It is really food and feelings and focus and freedom and how they all intertwine. And those are the main pillars. And there's several layers in between. But have you ever heard the term, if you sit and focus on something, whatever you focus on grows? Have you heard that before? Well, one of the things I wanted to note, are we focusing on problems and getting more problems, or are we just focusing on stuffing things down and getting more of vagueness? And one of the vague promises or things I used to say was, I was reminded of this by occasion this weekend. Let me start with like literally how I was thinking of starting is just really understanding. La la la. I could have done a lot of this earlier. Apologies. It's not even coming to me. But when somebody says, "Hi, how are you?" Do you answer with something sincere or do you say, "I'm fine"? What does fine mean? So, first, how are you saying "I'm fine"? That's a question. Are you with me on that? Have you ever just said "I'm fine" and just said there's a mask? That's so much more underneath. You just don't want to go into it. Okay, great. Thank you. You're both
Hmm.
nodding. I appreciate that. Okay, good. I'm not alone. And when you're trying to say, or when you are saying, "I'm fine," has it been conditioned? Is it something at the moment you're just hiding and not feeling safe to share? Is it that you might find like if as soon as you would say anything other than "I'm fine," you would be like vomiting a bunch of things because nobody else is listening to you, or you don't feel heard, or you don't feel safe, and finally somebody's there going, "No, really, asking another, how are you?"
Mhm.
I would love to hear a little bit more. I'm checking in with you this morning. How are you? Pam, I know this is, it could be vulnerable and you get to share as much as you did. And last week you did share. It was a big
Mhm.
weekend, a week.
Mhm.
Um, when I say, "How are you?" And sometimes we just don't want to go into how deep the pain could be. It's okay as
Yeah.
well. So what would be an appropriate response there? If,
Well,
if you want to,
well, I think it depends on a lot of things. I think there's a lot of social mores that apply because I think, like when you're at work and you see everybody in the morning and there are your work friends and you say, "Hi, how are you?" And we'll go, "Just, I'm fine," or "I'm just fine." And, most that's one kind of response.
yeah,
But there's also what you said. There are times when you don't just feel like going into detail, or you don't want to, the location, the circumstance. You don't want to verbally vomit everything, even to someone you trust, in certain situations. And then there are people who, when they ask, "How are you?" There are certain people I will talk to about. Actually, there's a couple of people in my personal life that I very much would tell anything to, but a lot of times I don't want to burden them with them because I'll get through it. I'll get through it because I, the way I handle things and uh, the way I handle, like I said, I wasn't all crumpled up this weekend about the
no,
anniversary of Robert's death, not at all.
thanks for sharing.
Um, but it's still heavy on your heart. It's still a lot of memories and things, good memories now. For the first couple, 2 or 3 years, I remembered sick Robert. And it took me about 3 years after he died to remember well Robert and how fun our life was and how good things were. I'm still working through some of those with my son. But again, I work through them by sometimes I withdraw to talk to God about it. And I do.
Good answer.
I,
Oh,
I
Jess, look at that answer. That's a beautiful
yeah, it
continuation of
is.
the conversation.
I open my
Good.
devotions. I start reading my devotion in the morning, and it seems like it's written just for me. And I know
Yeah.
that certain Bible verses that I love will pop up to me. God's always reminding me that He's there,
Thank you.
and I can't work through these things. And it's not me working because I can't do it alone. I have to have help, and God is always there to help me. And and He loves me no matter if I'm you know puny and feeling weak. He's there when I'm weak, and He's there when I'm strong, and He's there when I'm sad, and He's there when I'm happy. And I work through it that way. But addressing specifically what you asked me, there
Right.
are times when I would rather talk privately, and then there are times when I think I have verbal vomit, and I don't want to do that. So
Yeah.
I think this issue. Even my dear friends, when they say, "How are you?" I'll say, "I'm doing well. I'm doing okay." And I've even my best friend, when I say something like that to her, know that she's struggling too with some issues for her with her family. And I thought, but now's not the time because she's struggling too. She doesn't need to hear my struggles. And so, but at a later time, I have said I'm fine, and inside think I'm a freaking mess. How am I? I'm a freaking mess, right now. But I just don't say that because I really empathize with other people. I don't want to double their burden. And that's why, God, I can always take it to Him, you know. So,
Beautiful answer. I love it. And that's something that Jess and I were talking about briefly Saturday afternoon too. So thank you for that. Because
mm,
I I came to this. Well, just before I say what I wanted to say, do you have anything to add on to it?
Pretty much echo a lot of what Pam says. It depends on like who I'm around, if, where we're at, where we're about to do. I don't want to unburden that because I want to have a good time with whoever I'm with, right? I don't want
definitely.
whatever I have on my heart or chest or my mind to like bring that down, right? So and sometimes I just don't want to focus on me. It's almost like
Mhm.
I'd rather not, I still want it to be whoever we're with. It's about us rather than me. And if I open up, I feel like it's now all directed at me. And so yeah, I kind of redirect. And I do say I'm well more so than I'm fine, or I'm okay. Um, or some just like neutral statement, to just kind of move on from it. And then,
Hmm.
sometimes there are moments where it's like I could share. A lot of that is like with my sister. Like now that we're a lot closer in this adulthood, like we'll say whatever. Even, sometimes it's something that may be shameful in the sense of motherhood, or adulthood. There are things that's like, I don't want to say this out loud, but it's just the truth of that moment, those emotions. And logically, we know it doesn't make sense, but emotionally, in that time frame, it does make sense. So I connect a lot with her because she's also a mother. So yeah, that's who I kind of primarily just unload off on
Yeah.
in life right now.
That's it's really beautiful. You said a couple things, and I liked what you said about changing the words. Just but they're pretty flat. They're pretty
Mhm.
specifically. I'm well. I love that. I'm well, and I could go into a lot more. And I do believe a lot of us could. Where is our focus? If our focus is during the day, there's some other things to get done. I don't have the opportunity to really go into what is fine about me. What I was feeling originally was I know that there's been times that I've held pain a lot in me, and I went years in our clinic of not talking about what I was going through. It wasn't the place to. Yet
Hmm.
I also wish to say I didn't feel safe at the time to really bring it up or share with it at home either. So I wasn't getting it out. Um, and so that is an opportunity to say, what is community and where do you go when you do have things you're holding on to? And thank you, Pam, because I do know that there has been so many times through my physical pain and through just emotional pain, not just, it's just as burden, just as a filler word. It's painful to go through emotional pain and not
Hmm.
feel seen and heard just as much as the physical pain that I was going through. And that can be a mask in either one of those that we can just put on and say, I'm fine until we can get broken about it, because we're focusing on us, even not talking about it, you're still focusing on it. Even
Hmm.
when somebody says, how are you, it brings it up again. It's like another fissure. It's like, oh, there's that wound again. Yeah, I'm fine, I'm just
Hmm.
not talking about it. It's like, let it go. I wish people didn't. And that's also why I didn't talk about my illness at work too much, is I literally dealt with it so much in my life, I didn't want to talk about it. Like Jess was saying, I was like, I'm good, I'm well. I like those. And if you focus on it or put a mask up too much, that does create pressure on your body. Emotional
Hmm.
and physical pain build up. And we can turn off the thinking and breathe and literally then exercise it out of our body, which is a lot of what I desired to share on Saturday. We had a live breath class on Saturday in our clinic. And I know it, my first breath class was at that precipice in my own life where I had had decades of feeling illness. I had been septic and in medical ICU, not knowing if I was going to live or die. My husband was going through a lot. Did I realize it? No, because I needed to focus on me, and all the focus was on me because I didn't feel him there. Yet he was in his own way there. I don't want to make him like a bad guy. He was focusing on work. He was keeping a roof over our head. Thank you. And we had 3 kids still at that time in our home. So I had my own burdens that I was going through. So I stuffed it down. Do we have an outlet for it? And journaling has always, where's my journal? I have it. Oh, it's under, it's
Hmm.
under my laptop right now. I've always been writing. I have books and books and books, and taking that to God and releasing it somehow through
Hmm.
breath work or through journaling. Both of them have been a beautiful way of releasing those. And so we've talked about both of those. And that was really it today, was where our focus is grows. And if we're not allowing ourselves to disperse any negative thinking, stinking thinking will grow. That's a focus.
Hmm.
And do we have an opportunity uh, or a practice? I often talk about the practice of breathing, but do we have a practice for writing and journaling? I love myself using scripture. It often is a great prompt. God is so good at bringing up reminders of what has already happened. Then that's scriptural too. We get to
Hmm.
see the evidence after it's already in motion or done. And we get to what I was going to bring this to was something I was finding myself deeper level of and deeper awareness of during my mm, most hardest times that I did feel alone was to go through the scripture of Matthew 7:7, which is ask, seek, and knock. And I found ask was to ask God. Just really asking other people didn't always help. It actually could bring me to a different, make it even worse. It could bring
Hmm.
up more questions, or it wasn't really saying what was on my heart. And so ask God was a lot easier. And I would put that at the top of the page. And it would be a one sentence kind of thing. I would ask God, why is this happening often? And I learned to let go of the how. God is the how. That was what I would end up writing. So it was a question about help me figure this out, help me understand this. And then I would seek the answer in my journal. And that was me knocking on the door of God. And so that was how I would know through my writing. It was exercising it just as much as breathing would. It was like, oh, breathing can get me out of my head. So was this. And it's called a conscious stream of writing, where we ask a question and just allow yourself to write for about 5 to 7 minutes. The beautiful thing there is these exercises are not very long, and they're beautifully cathartic.
Hmm.
So, have you ever tried to journal a stream of conscious writing? Do you have a journal practice, a specific? You said, Pam, you do?
I do, and it's funny. Different situations call for different ways of dealing it. I kind of go with what feels right. When I was going through my divorce um, in 1992, 1991 and 92, my husband and I he wasn't happy, and it was just awful. And I got to the point, the way I dealt with it was I went on upstairs in the office and I journaled on the computer because I liked the quickness of it. And I have journals from that time, from that year, that were, I keep thinking I need to get rid of them because I don't want when I die someone to read all these things, because they weren't bad things. They were truths that I were revealed to me as I thought through our marriage and as I thought back about things. And it helped me, it relieved me so much. And those journals were pages and pages on floppy disks. And I mean, that was
Real floppy disk.
1991. And
Yeah.
that's when they were the big black floppies.
Yes.
And it was like, at one point, I thought I could write a book about this. And not an anonymous book. I even thought about writing a book about going through divorce and a marriage. And I mean, I guess whenever bad things happen to you, you think maybe I could somehow share this for someone else who's going through it and can feel good about it. And when I met Robert later, I, he didn't read my journals, of course, but I said, I've often thought about reading a book. And he said, you writing a book? And he said, well, you need to write a book. And I said, well, but the thing is, it was wonderful. The journal was wonderful. It revealed a lot of things about my ex-husband that he probably wouldn't want people to know. And I do respect that. I respect that because, again, you learn forgiveness because doesn't mean you don't want to be their best friend again. Doesn't mean you want to hang out with them, but forgiveness is for you. It's not for the other person. And that's what helped me get through. And I don't want people to find those. And I'm going to have to, since I'm 76, I'm going to have to find those and maybe get rid of them because boy, what a story they'll read in that one. So, but, yes, journaling, with Robert and Chris's death wasn't so much as searching and looking for peace. And with Robert, it was one thing. With Robert, it was just I had peace. I missed him. I missed the fun we had, but we had a good life together. And with Chris, it just was traumatic. And so, it just different kinds of grief or different kinds of challenging things in your life, we have a lot of options that we can use. And I can tell you, for one, journaling is amazing. And it was free flow journaling because as I was typing, I didn't have to write, not make mistakes. I would be talking. And that's before we had voice to text. So if it was wrong, it was a typo, not because they autocorrect changed it to something else. And but it was very good, very cathartic. I loved it.
Thank you for sharing
Again,
that.
I told you more than you wanted to know, but there you go.
I appreciate you sharing. It's nice to hear from you. It reminds me that there is a connection, and so a topic I get often is when I say bring up writing or journaling. People go, "Oh no, I'm not doing that. I don't like
Yeah,
journaling."
yeah,
I get that
yeah.
so much, and yet I ask further, like, "Have you ever done it? Like, what is your relationship to it?" And so one of the things that came up when I first learned about the stream of conscious writing is that it is part similar to breath work that we can get into our subconscious and releasing what is underneath it. And that sounds like you got to that point. They say
Mm-hmm.
that there's some connection and to our brain and our hand. Writing it out even doesn't even have to be so legible. It just is part
Mm-hmm.
of letting it go, keeping the pen on the page and letting it write. And sometimes you don't even understand, but you can read through it and go, wow, I really, you can reveal things that way that you really didn't see that were inside of your soul because it's allowing
Mm-hmm.
your stream of conscious writing to go and just let it rage on the page or write as it desires. And one of the things though I hear so many times now is well, now there's AI or now there's something else I would just rather type. And I think you're wrong. You're letting your feelings out. So great. Good job. But I wanted to
Hey
encourage
Tracy,
writing
can,
as well, because
Yeah,
that's
you're.
what I learned.
Tracy, can you repeat all that? It looks like you broke
It,
up.
it was cutting out and kind of dong and making funny noises. Yeah.
Sure, sure, sure. Thank you. Can you hear me now? Okay.
Uh huh.
Okay. There's a stream of conscious writing that our subconscious gets to connect with when our hand is on the page. Then we're just allowing our hand to write, and what's coming in through us gets released. There is something about that you can find similar to breath work, that you're getting deeper into the subconscious. However, now with AI, and you can talk to AI, typing and journaling, I found that through my clients, it doesn't matter. Just please do something, instead of holding it in. So I like to talk about what I was taught is the stream of conscious writing is a manual exercise, and you can get rid of it. Just like Pam was saying, what if somebody was to read it? That
Mm-hmm.
often was a response that some of the
Mm-hmm.
clients wouldn't want to write because no, and I did too. I literally hid my journal from Mick, and I don't want to. Mick and I've been together since I was like
Mm-hmm.
18, so it's there's a lot of conditioning that we came up with and within our relationship. So yeah, I would hide my journal in between my mattress and go, yeah, you're not reading that. We can burn it. We can let it go. And that too, often by different counselors have been talked about as really helpful, is to
Yeah.
write it and then, shred it, burn it, throw it away. But
Mm-hmm.
keep it on those discs, just throw the discs away.
Yeah, yeah, I that's true
You
because
can open
it
those anymore.
no, no, and no, there's no machine to open them. Um, oh my gosh, yeah, I it was also time I could get away. I went upstairs. He was downstairs. I went upstairs. The time was myself. I could cry if I wanted to cry. I could be angry if I wanted to be angry. No one had to watch me. He wasn't watching my he was so into his own feelings. He didn't really care about me. And we talked, and I was trying to keep him happy to save our marriage. I was trying to get him to talk, and he would just sit there like a stump. And I've not been happy for a long time. And I thought, well, okay, you want to talk about it? No, he didn't. Want to go to counseling? No, he didn't. I went to counseling alone. Um, and he just wanted what he wanted. He was going through a midlife thing, and he wanted what he wanted. But he wouldn't leave. He wouldn't leave. He'd stay there and make me miserable. And me every morning saying, how are you this morning? There you go. How are you? Are you feeling better? Are you feeling better? Because we were cordial to each other. We weren't mad at each other.
Right.
It was just awful. But that was me time. And that journal was me and my thoughts and my time. And there's nothing saying anything about your husband because I was trying to save our marriage. So just because I didn't share my journal with him, it would have made no difference. Those were my thoughts and
Point.
perfectly right for you to hide it.
I think there's times when, and this is part of it too, that we've learned together, and that I've learned is if you are feeling somebody and mention it to a partner, a friend, and they don't hear that, they go into a story of defensiveness themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps I've had girlfriends and I break up a business relationship. It went well, luckily, because we were able to be with each other and hear each other. And I
Mm-hmm.
know that there's been times when you share it with somebody and they go into their own story. Like, I feel that you blah, blah, blah. Well, I'm doing this. It's like they take it on and then they just tell their own story. If
Well, and
you
we
have,
don't want advice. We just want to share. A lot
exactly,
of times we don't want advice. We don't want you to solve it. That's a man thing. They love to solve it.
exactly it. We know, but, and there's other people who are fixers. I'll be honest. And I love
Uh-huh.
my friend she is a fixer. She is a line 5 in human design. That's a fixer. People go with problems. Yet I didn't want to be fixed. And she would see things and she was like, why aren't you addressing this? And it's like, that must be my life. I don't want to address it. I'm
Mm-hmm.
okay being like head down. We all have our own unique being, the way we are. I do love human design because it reads into it a little easier. I found more grace for people when I know where they kind of come from with that because it
Mm-hmm.
really lines up. But if you're feeling unsafe to share, I want people to know that safety is a prime part of who we are. It is in our nervous system, and feeling safe enough to share. If you don't feel safe enough to share with where you are, please reach out. I have a free consultation, and that's where I can listen. I can help either refer you out or find an alternative, or to exercise it like we're talking about breath work or journaling, or perhaps that some time breathing and working together may be an answer. And we strategically talk about that. So I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
offer that because if you're defending yourself or your others, or you're holding back and wearing a mask, it isn't the best way to live. And right now we are moving into a time when we get to self aware and become self driven, self responsibility, having our own responsibility for ourselves in a loving community. And that's why I love coming together every Tuesday. Thank you so much for sharing in this
Mhm.
manner. Um, and I appreciate you guys. I do. You add value to this. When I come on and it's just myself, it's not as fun. So seeing other people, thank you so much. It's a beautiful interaction we get to have every Tuesday. And we invite you, if you're watching as a replay,
Mhm.
come in and share. Or if you are watching it replay, mention in the hashtag replay. Thank you for saying XYZ. It resonated with me. That's all. Thank you so
Mhm.
much as we
Mhm.
appreciate this and grow together. All right. Thank you all. May you have a blessed week.
Oh,
And if there's
if it-
more, leave some messages out so we can get back together and answer each other in our group. Okay?
okay.
Thanks so much. Have a great week. We see you next Tuesday.
Bye bye.
Bye.